테슬라는 스포츠카부터 만든 사실 알고 계시나요? 테슬라가 처음 내놓은 차는 1억 원이 넘는 스포츠카였습니다. 기술이 완전히 성숙해지기 전에 일론머스크는 혁신을 이해하고 감당할 수 있는 고객층부터 공략했습니다. 모두를 위한 차가 아니라 혁신을 이해할 수 있는 소수를 위한 차로 시작한 것이죠.
So now, fast forward, Tesla started in 2003.
Yeah.
Started in 2003.
Wow, that is a big fast forward, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about your 20s and 30s. We won't
Yeah,
do that.
okay, so going to Tesla.
Yeah. So talk about the concept, the idea. What inspired you?
Sure.
Who was around you to help make this an idea, a reality?
Yeah, actually, if I can go back a little bit to that, a little bit further and say the origins of why electric vehicles. Well, when I was in college, I thought about what are the things that are most going to affect the future of humanity, and the three things I came up with were the internet, transitioning to a sustainable energy economy, and that means both production and consumption of energy in a sustainable way, and the third was space exploration. So my interest in electric cars goes back 20 years to when I was in college. In fact, the original reason I came out to Silicon Valley was to go to Stanford to work on a PhD in applied physics and material science to develop advanced energy storage technologies for electric vehicles.
Okay.
So this is a really long-standing interest of mine.
Right.
Goes back to way before 2003. But the thing that kind of spurred things in 2003 was a lunch that I had with Harold Rosen and J.B. Straubel, and that I got this sort of call out of the blue from Harold Rosen. He's a famous guy in space and electric cars.
Oh.
So he had something called Rosen Motors, but he also worked for Hughes Aerospace, and that's kind of how the connection kind of bridged over. And at the lunch, we're just talking about a bunch of things in general, and I mentioned that I had originally come out to California to work on electric vehicle technologies, and then
Right.
Harold mentioned, told me a bit about his past with Rosen Motors, and then JB mentioned that hey, there's this company called AC Propulsion that has this kind of very rough prototype electric sports car running on lithium-ion batteries, and it's getting really good performance. So I said, that sounds interesting, and I thought with the advent of lithium-ion, that really is a sort of a key enabler for electric cars.
Right.
So JB arranged for a test drive of the AC Propulsion T0 in 2003.
How many miles did it go back then?
Well, actually, the performance specs of the T0 are very similar to the Roadster.
Oh.
But it's a much more primitive car. It's basically like a kit car. It's sort of just a fiberglass.
Like a golf cart or something.
There's a little bit of a golf cart, but it's
Yeah.
not something you could ever sell to people.
Okay.
Like it didn't have a roof.
Okay.
It didn't have any safety systems. It was very expensive and hand built. So I tried to convince the AC Propulsion guys to commercialize the T0 and said, hey, I'm willing to fund you if you want to commercialize the T0, but it just wasn't of interest to them.
Right. Okay.
They were a very sort of small outfit. They liked to sort of tinker and experiment, but they weren't really interested, at least at the time, in creating a production sports car, electric sports car. So, but I kept pushing them on this, and eventually I said, look, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to do it. And they said, well, if you're going to do it, there's some other people we should introduce you to. Maybe you guys should team up and go and do it. And that's how I met Martin Everhard, Mark Topping, and Ian Wright. And then JB also joined. I was actually able to convince JB to join Tesla. And so that's sort of like the founding team of Tesla was the five of us.
So when you started thinking about this idea and building it out, and there's different entry strategies to get into the electric car industry, and your goal is to make mass market cars. That you created a very expensive, not mass market car, $100,000 Roadster, high expensive, low volume. Why that entry strategy?
It's actually, I think it's the only entry strategy that I thought had any chance of success. And the reason for that is, as a small startup, we don't have the economies of scale of the big car companies. Plus, we're really working with the first generation of technology. And there are two things that are really important in making technology available to the mass market and making it affordable. And those two things are economies of scale and being able to optimize the design. And it usually takes, usually by the third version of something, that's when it kind of starts to reach mass market potential.
Right.
So using that sort of basic rule of thumb, the strategy I had was to start off with a high-priced, low-volume car, being the sports car. And there's only a few types of cars that people are willing to pay a high price for. Sports cars being one of them, really premium sedans being another. But the easiest way for us to come to market with a long-range car was with a sort of smaller sports car. And then phase two, which we're seeing now, is the Model S, and that's mid-price, mid-volume. And then phase three is the high-volume, low-price car, or lower price.
Right. Now,
일론머스크는 전기차의 시작으로 혁신을 받아들일 준비가 된 시장을 선택했습니다. 다소 투박해도 기술의 가능성을 이해하는 고객층을 대상으로 고가 시장에서 신뢰를 쌓고 갖고 싶은 브랜드의 이미지를 만들어 나갔습니다. 그렇게 시간을 번 테슬라는 그 신뢰와 경험 그리고 데이터를 기반으로 점차 대중시장으로 확장해 나갔습니다. 만약에 다른 전기차 기업들처럼 처음부터 대중시장을 노렸다면 테슬라는 지금의 상징적인 브랜드가 될 수 있었을까요? 여러분의 생각을 댓글로 남겨주세요.